Maria, I wanted to begin with your story, which has a happy end, but it was a rough journey. You were born in Russia, and what happened next?
So I'm a minority in Russia. I come from Caucasus, and when I was little, my parents lost everything. My dad was an entrepreneur, and we ended up becoming refugees and came to Norway, where we stayed for many years, asked for asylum, and eventually actually got no. So, and we didn't know what to do. So, yeah.
You are illegal in Norway. You wrote a book.
I've done everything. I've been from refugee and illegal immigrant, and also work migrant. So what I did is that we didn't have any papers, but I managed to get a place at the university. So I studied for 5 years, studied innovation and technology, and decided, okay, I have to do something. So I wrote a book about my story.
Illegally Norwegian.
Yes, illegally Norwegian, and I told my story just openly. It was out in the media, and that led to a lot of support in Norway. And
a new law was...
By law, I was allowed. I should have gotten permission to stay in Norway, but because my case became very political between all the parties, I was arrested and I was deported. So I was deported to Moscow, and I haven't been to Moscow. I don't know what I was going to do there, but because of all the public engagement in Norway, the democracy, people said no, she has to come back. So the government had to compromise. So they created a new law that they call Lex Amelie, and they allowed me to come back on a work permit. So I came back and worked as a journalist in technology magazine for 4 years, and got my permission to live in Norway for permanently.
And this is why your startup and a think tank as well is called Startup Migrants. What do you do, and why it's important?
So I never thought that I would become an entrepreneur. Because I've had such bad experience from my childhood when I saw how hard my dad worked and how he lost everything. But then at the same time, I've written several books and interviewed some of the most successful technology founders in the Nordics. And when I was learning their story, I realized, oh, we have a lot in common. I never thought about it, because when you grow up as a migrant, you always hear maybe negative stuff, that you are underdog, that you don't have necessarily enough skills, experience, and you kind of feel like you don't have so much to contribute with. But when I was talking to all founders from all over the world, they had to become successful founder, you have to take risk, and that's what you do when you are a migrant. You move to a new country and you take risk. And to become successful, you also have to be innovative in everything you do. So when you come to a new country, you feel like an idiot most of the time, because everything is new. It's difficult to understand the language, but at the same time, you also have fresh perspective. You see problems and you see new markets that maybe traditional local people are not seeing. And you also have a sense of purpose. I think when you to become a really successful founder, you have to. It's not just about the money. It's about creating and building something that is good for the world, for your family, for your country. So I think that's what you have when you come as a migrant, is this drive to build something that will matter. And I think. And so I realized all of these things and decided, migration, entrepreneurship, we don't talk so much about these two topics. I usually separate it, but what if we look into this all over Europe and also Middle East and try to understand how countries, can you see migration as opportunity, or is it just a problem? And how different countries are handling migration. Do they win? Do they get a lot of innovations, a lot of new jobs, or is it just a problem for them?
And I guess there's still a lot of ground to cover for you in Startup Migrants in order to kind of implement anything or create some tools or guides or guidebooks for people who want to migrate and start their business somewhere else. But another area of your expertise and the topic that you researched and also wrote a book on it is freedom of speech in public and private companies in the age of social media. Now, what are the main concerns and challenges that you see identify in this area?
I think it's a challenge to say what you mean on social media today, especially if you're part of a big corporate or you're part of a government. And the reason for that is because the government, your employee doesn't know so much about how to handle this issue, so they just say very often no to everything. And you yourself also don't know what are your rights, what is it you really can do about this. I think it is a rising issue in the age of social media, especially for people who are not supposed to. And it kind of, I think it also makes it difficult for us to, for example, if you work as an engineer. And I, as a journalist, would like to interview an engineer, they often will send me to the press office, and then I have to talk to a leader. But I don't want to talk to the leader. I want to talk to a person who is really, really good in this particular subject, who is an engineer. And I think that's kind of also affects the way the discussion are going on in the media. If we only will have like people on the top, or only people in the press office who will say something in the media, then it will affect what is it we learn about the world. But if you have people who actually are working with problems, they will give more nuanced. But it's also both ways, because you have media who is very threatened by online journalism, the traditional media houses. So when I was working as a journalist, it was just right in this shift from paper to online. And it made many people in the business kind of worried and scared about how the new journalism will be. So I think technology kind of challenges and changes that as well. And then the third aspect of it is what happens when you have companies like Facebook, like those giants, technology giants, acting as editors. Because they say that they are very neutral, but in reality they are very they are editing. And I think we just have to continue asking this question and challenge them. And when it comes to the employees and leaders, it's up to leaders in these companies to invite employees and to have a discussion about this. One of the examples we had in Norway is one of the CEOs, she invited her whole company to have a discussion about this, and she encouraged everyone to start their own Twitter accounts. And she said, please, you can use Twitter. It's like she kind of encouraged that and trusted that her employees will know the difference between what is super secret stuff they cannot talk about in the open and everything else they can discuss in the media. So we need both brave leaders who dare to have this conversation, and also brave employees who push the borders of this.
And also professional media to maintain its position.
Yeah.
Based on your knowledge and your own experience, what can governments do to make entrepreneurship easier for women?
For women, well, as with women and also with migrants, because you kind of, if you look into smaller groups that are not so represented in the ecosystem, the problem is often network and capital. So I think, and also the skills. I think it's important. Like one way is to start early by encouraging more women to take IT and technology type of education in addition to what they study. Another side of it is to make it maybe easier for women to have kids and to start a company. In Norway, you have access. You will get kindergarten. And it's a society where kind of a lot of gender equality. So the husband will also be helping, or the husband or a woman can take a leave of absence and take care of the kids while they still have salary. So that helps a lot. And subsidized kindergartens helps a lot. There's no point in just giving money to women when they have kids, because I think the kindergarten will actually help much more. And I think it's also about network. When you, it's to encourage. It goes two ways. It's to encourage the existing investors into investing and meeting with more women founders to hear them out, and it's also by encouraging women to invest in startups, because there are women who have money and who maybe don't invest not so much in startups, or maybe they do something else. So by teaching them how to invest, we can also enable more diversity in the startup ecosystem.
Wrapping up, let's say that I want to move out of Poland. Is there anything in particular that I should keep in mind or consider a challenge in this regard?
To start a company, for example?
Yes.
Yeah. I think the challenge you're gonna have when you move to another country to become an entrepreneur is to understand the bureaucracy. So it will take a while. So it's a good thing to find someone who understands that. Maybe start learning it beforehand, and maybe figure out in which countries it's easier to start a business. I mean, there are many migrants who moved to UK because it costs nothing to start a company, and in Germany it's almost 3,000 euros to register a company. So if you're gonna move somewhere to be an entrepreneur, to figure out where it is, and also if you think of where is your own network internationally, there are people who will maybe help you in the beginning, and I think building your network already when you are in Poland, going to conferences like this, getting to know people from all over the world, who can give you like first-hand perspective.
So it's better to build network before I move out.
I think it's a good idea. Why not? To connect with people in the industry who work on the same things as you do. Another thing is to figure out what is it you want to do, to understand the local market, because the problems there are here are not necessarily the same as in other countries. So what is it? Where is your skills are most needed, and where you can choose different types of jobs.